Hey folks, welcome back. Let me ask you something straight. Have you ever pulled back from a woman just once, and she suddenly started paying attention again? Strange, right? The moment you stop texting, stop explaining, stop trying, she starts watching, reaching, wondering. What changed? Here's the uncomfortable truth most men never learn. Masculine men don't chase. They disappear. And when they do, it triggers something far deeper than logic in her. See, chasing is built on a lie, that the more effort you pour in, the more valuable you'll appear. But in reality, the more available you are, the less she feels you. Because here's what most men don't get. Attraction isn't about proximity. It's about presence and the silence that surrounds it. Women don't test you with words. They test you with space, with withdrawal, with emotional noise that dares you to come running, to prove yourself, to break your ground. And most men do. They text paragraphs. They call late at night. They try to clear the air, to fix things, to show they care. And every time they do, they teach her one thing. I'm available on command. Your behavior controls me. But the masculine man, the man rooted in Stoic strength, he doesn't flinch. He doesn't beg. He doesn't explain himself to someone who's already turned away. He lets her walk and doesn't follow. He lets her speak and listens in silence. And when the storm clears, she realizes what just happened. She pushed. He didn't move. And now he's gone. Not emotionally manipulative, not spiteful, not reactive, just gone. Because true masculine power isn't loud. It's not performed. It's not forced. It's quiet, disciplined. It doesn't ask for closure. It becomes closure. And here's where dark psychology meets ancient wisdom. When you stop chasing, you shift the dynamic. You remove her control over your time, your mind, your self-worth. And suddenly, she starts to feel what you were feeling all along. The absence, the silence, the space she created, now staring back at her. Most men are terrified of that space, but the Stoic, he thrives in it. So today's video isn't about petty tactics. It's not about games. It's about reclaiming your frame and understanding why disappearance, not pursuit, is your greatest power as a masculine man. Because when you stop being her echo, you start being her mirror. And trust me, when that moment hits, it doesn't just shift the energy, it changes the story. So if you've been trying, explaining, chasing, waiting for her to get it, this is your wake-up call. Stay with me, because in the next few minutes, I'll walk you through exactly how masculine men disappear. Why it flips the psychology of attraction on its head, and how to step into a kind of quiet strength most men will never even understand. Let's begin. Number 1, feel it once, never again. It hits you like a wave. You don't expect it. You thought everything was going fine. Then suddenly, she pulls away. She doesn't text like she used to. Her energy feels colder, and in the back of your mind, you feel that gut punch. Something's changed, and you don't know why. Most men panic at this point. They get stuck in their own heads, replaying every little thing they said or did. They start reaching out more, trying to check the vibe, asking what's wrong, hoping to fix it. And with every word they send, every move they make, they lose a little more respect in her eyes. Here's what masculine men do differently. They feel it once and never again. What does that mean? It means you're allowed to feel it. You're human. You're not a robot. When someone you care about pulls away, you feel that drop in your chest, that confusion, that emptiness, that sting of rejection. But you don't live there. You don't spiral. You don't revisit that pain every day, like it's some shrine to your failure. You acknowledge it, breathe through it, and then you move like it never happened. Because the masculine man doesn't chase emotional closure. He doesn't cling to old energy. He doesn't beg for her to come back and make sense of her silence. He accepts the silence and disappears into his own purpose. The truth is, if you let that pain define you, you become addicted to the story. And once you're addicted to the story, you start needing her to rewrite it. You give her power not just over your time or attention, but over your identity. And that's the real loss. But the Stoic, the man rooted in discipline and clarity, he feels the loss once. He sits with it, and then he builds from it. Because pain is a signal, not a sentence. It's your mind saying, something just shifted. And it's your job to answer that shift. Not with reaction, but with redirection. This is where most men go wrong. They try to numb it, jump into distractions, text other women, go out just to prove they're unbothered. But real masculinity doesn't flinch that way. It feels, it understands, and then it transforms. Marcus Aurelius said it best. You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength. That's exactly what this is. She pulled back? Let her. You felt the pain? Good. It means you're alive. But the moment you chase, the moment you try to fill that void with her energy again, you become dependent. And there's nothing attractive about that. Not to her, not to the world, not even to you. So what do? You remember the rule. Feel it once, never again. Feel it the first time, deeply, honestly. Let it teach you something. Let it show you where you were too available, too reactive, too open too soon. But after that, you vanish. Not to play games, not to punish, but because masculine men do not return to the place they lost themselves. You take that pain and you pour it into your body, your discipline, your direction. You wake up earlier, you train harder, you build more, you go silent, not out of spite, but out of self-respect. And trust me, she will feel that silence louder than any apology you could have sent, because women don't respond to noise. They respond to presence. And when that presence pulls back, not with bitterness, but with certainty, everything changes. She starts to notice. She starts to wonder. She starts to feel what you felt. But now you're no longer there to fix it. You're gone. You felt it once, and never again. Comment this below if you're done revisiting old wounds. I move forward. And if you're building something stronger in silence, hit that subscribe button now. Because next, we're breaking down why silence is louder than anger, and how to use it like a weapon, not a weakness. Let's keep going. Number 2, silence speaks louder than anger. You ever send a message when you're angry? That shaky, rushed paragraph you regret 5 minutes later? That need to get it off your chest because the silence was killing you? Yeah, we've all been there. And every time you let that emotion spill out, every time you break your silence with rage or desperation, you lose ground. Not just with her, but with yourself. Because here's the uncomfortable truth. Masculine men don't explain their pain. They embody it. And nothing speaks louder than a man who chooses silence over reaction. See, most men believe that being loud makes you strong. If she disrespects you, yell. If she pulls away, confront. If she tests you, argue, assert, dominate. But the truth? That kind of energy doesn't shake her. It feeds her. Because now, she knows you're still emotionally tied to her behavior. Your reaction tells her, I'm still invested. Your anger screams, you still have power over me. But silence? Silence says, you no longer move me. That's terrifying to her, because in silence, she has nothing to hold on to. No proof you're hurting, no window into your head, no hook to reel you back in. And in that space, when the noise dies down, she's forced to sit with herself. That's when the real reflection begins. Let's be clear. Silence isn't passive. It's not you going cold out of fear. It's an active choice to disengage, to remove your energy from what no longer serves you. You don't disappear because you're weak. You disappear because you're done explaining your worth. You're not punishing her. You're protecting yourself. And here's the Stoic perspective that makes this so powerful. Epictetus said, "It's not what happens to you, but how you react to it that matters." So when something shifts in her behavior, her tone goes cold, her replies dry up, her presence fades, your silence is a message. It says, "I see what's happening, but I won't dance to it." That restraint, that composure, that's what turns women's heads, because emotional control is rare, and rare is attractive. Now let's not confuse this with the silent treatment. That's manipulation. That's ego. That's "I'm not talking to punish you." This isn't that. This is, "I've said what I needed to say. I've done what I needed to do. I don't owe another word." You don't ghost her. You exit quietly. You don't seek revenge. You seek alignment. You don't try to make her feel anything. You just stop showing up where you're no longer respected. That kind of silence, it echoes. It keeps her up at night. It makes her replay the last conversation. It forces her to question what you're thinking, if you're thinking about her at all, and that's the shift. You go from being a man trying to hold her attention to being the man whose absence holds more weight than someone else's presence. You want power? Stop speaking when it's your ego that's talking. Stop trying to fix what broke itself. And stop confusing emotional outbursts for strength. The strongest man in the room is never the one yelling. It's the one who can hold his silence when everything inside him wants to explode. That's real masculinity. That's Stoic dominance. So the next time she pushes, prods, tests, or vanishes, don't fill the space with your frustration. Let the space do the talking, because silence, when rooted in self-worth, always hits deeper than anger ever could. Comment this below if you're done reacting to chaos. I hold my silence. And if you're ready to shift the dynamic without saying a word, tap that subscribe button now. This channel isn't about playing games. It's about playing to win from within. And in the next part, we'll break the habit most men don't even realize they're addicted to: over-explaining themselves. You'll want to hear it. Let's keep going. Number 3, stop explaining yourself. How many times have you tried to clear things up and somehow ended up feeling worse? You send that long message. You break down what you meant. You try to make her see your point, your side, your intentions, and she just reads it, leaves it. Maybe replies with "okay" or nothing at all. Now you're the one staring at your own words, feeling small. Let's get real for a second. Explaining yourself doesn't build connection. It erodes respect. And here's why. When you feel the need to constantly explain, defend, or justify, you're silently admitting one thing: my worth is still up for debate. You're saying, I need you to get me before I can stand tall. I need your agreement to feel at peace. I need your validation to believe in myself. That is emotional dependency in disguise. And women feel it. They may not say it, but they register it instantly. It's in your tone, your posture, your urgency, the way you chase clarity like a starving man chases crumbs. Now let's bring in some Stoic fire. Marcus Aurelius said, "Waste no more time arguing what a good man should be one." That quote, that's the core of this principle. You don't need to explain who you are when you're already living it. If your actions are clear, your character consistent, and your words aligned with truth, then the people meant to understand you will. And those who don't, weren't supposed to. Masculine men do not explain themselves to win approval. They speak when it matters. They move with purpose. And when misunderstood, they don't chase understanding. They let the misunderstanding reveal who was never really listening. Because here's the raw truth. If she wants to misunderstand you, no paragraph will save you. And if she truly respects you, you won't have to say a word. Most men over-explain out of fear. Fear of being seen the wrong way. Fear of losing a connection. Fear of being labeled as cold or uncaring. But let me ask you, what kind of connection do you have if it only survives through over-explanation? Real connection comes from presence, from alignment, from being able to sit in silence and still be felt. When you stop explaining yourself, something powerful happens. You stop trying to control the perception. You start living from a deeper truth. Now, does that mean you never speak? Of course not. But there's a world of difference between clarity and convincing. Clarity is calm. It's simple. It's a statement of who you are. Convincing? That's emotional noise. It's trying to force someone to feel something they don't. And when you try to force it, it slips further away. Women don't respect the man who explains. They respect the man who embodies. So if you're in a situation where she's pulling away, questioning your intentions, creating drama, don't write an essay. Don't defend your name like it's on trial. Don't play lawyer for your soul. Say less. Do more. Disappear if you must. Let her sit with her own questions. Let your absence be your final sentence, because a man who stops explaining starts commanding. He moves different. She feels it. And the moment she realizes she doesn't have access to his energy anymore, that's when the game flips. Comment this below if you're done begging to be understood. I need no permission. And if you're ready to speak less and move smarter, subscribe now. This channel isn't for those who want to be liked. It's for those ready to be respected. Next, we'll uncover a law that breaks the need to impress altogether. The law of indifference. Let's move forward. Number 4, the law of indifference. Let me ask you something simple, but brutal. What happens when she realizes she has your full emotional attention, no matter what she does? She relaxes, she stops trying, and slowly, maybe even subconsciously, she stops respecting you. Because deep down, we all know this one truth. The more someone senses you need them, the less they value you. This isn't bitterness. It's just how attraction works. And this is where the law of indifference comes into play. It's not about pretending you don't care. It's about building a life so complete, so locked into your own path, that you don't have to. See, most men operate from fear. What if I lose her? What if she thinks I don't care? What if I don't respond fast enough and she moves on? That kind of thinking leads to emotional slavery. You're no longer leading your life. You're reacting to hers. But the masculine man, the Stoic man, doesn't chase comfort in someone else's validation. He creates certainty from within. He doesn't fake detachment. He is detached. Why? Because he knows his worth is not measured by her response. He knows that someone truly aligned with him won't need to be chased, convinced, or reminded. The law of indifference isn't about coldness. It's about clarity. It says, I show up with value. You're either ready to meet me there, or you're not. That energy? It's unshakable. It's quiet. It's magnetic. Women feel it instantly. It's not arrogance. It's not apathy. It's the calm confidence of someone who's already full. And this law works silently. You don't have to announce it. You don't need a long talk about boundaries or self-respect. You simply move differently. You don't initiate when you feel disrespected. You don't overgive to win approval. You don't chase connection. You attract it by walking in alignment. Epictetus once said, "He who is not happy with what he has will not be happy with what he would like to have." Indifference comes from that very place, of being already content. Now here's the irony. When you stop trying to win her, when you stop caring about her opinion more than your mission, when you stop flinching every time she pulls back, that's when she starts watching you differently. She starts noticing that your world doesn't collapse without her attention. She starts wondering why she can't shake your presence, even in your silence. She starts realizing you were never chasing her. You were leading yourself. This law isn't something you use, it's something you become. You build a routine that grounds you, a discipline that protects you, a mission that consumes you. And when she tries to pull you into her drama, her tests, her withdrawals, you don't flinch. You observe. You breathe. You move on, because that's what indifference looks like. Not emotional coldness, but emotional command. So here's your truth. If you have to keep proving your value, it's time to stop showing up. If you have to keep adjusting your peace to match her chaos, you've already lost yourself. Choose peace. Choose posture. Choose stillness over panic. Because when you're grounded, her energy won't shake you. It'll simply pass by. Comment this below if you're done proving your worth. I hold my line. And if you're building that grounded, untouchable version of yourself, hit that subscribe button now. This space isn't about reacting. It's about remembering who you are. And don't go anywhere. This energy shift you're stepping into, it's only just getting started. Stay with me. Number 5, become her mirror, not her pet. Let's break down a dynamic most men fall into without even realizing it. You meet a woman. She's beautiful, magnetic, unpredictable. You want to impress her. You want to make her happy. You want her to feel safe, seen, loved. So what do? You adapt. You agree. You start filtering your truth to fit her mood. You compliment when you want to challenge. You comfort when you really feel disrespected. You nod your head when your gut says, "That wasn't okay." You're no longer being real. You're performing. And just like that, you've become her pet. A pet seeks approval. A mirror reflects reality. And a masculine man knows your power comes from reflection, not submission. Here's what I mean. When she's calm, you're calm. When she's storming, you stay still. When she tests, you reflect, not react. That's the mirror. You're not there to match her energy. You're there to ground it. Because women don't respect men who follow their emotional lead. They respect the man who doesn't flinch, who holds his own, who reflects what needs to be seen, even when it's uncomfortable. She doesn't need another follower. She needs a man who shows her where she really stands. Now don't get this twisted. Being her mirror isn't about being cold or cruel. It's not about throwing her words back at her or playing mind games. It's about staying rooted in who you are. When she's dramatic, you don't escalate. You reflect calm. When she withdraws, you don't chase. You reflect space. When she disrespects, you don't apologize for being bothered. You reflect the consequence. That's power. That's presence. That's Stoicism in action. Marcus Aurelius said, "If you are distressed by anything external, the pain is not due to the thing itself, but to your estimate of it." And guess what? When you become her mirror, you stop overestimating her mood. You stop making her the emotional compass of the relationship. You become the standard. Now, some women won't like this. They're used to control. They're used to emotional puppets. But the right woman? She'll feel it. She'll recognize it. And she'll start rising to meet you. Why? Because when a man becomes her mirror, she starts seeing herself more clearly. Not through judgment, but through reflection. And it's in that clarity that real connection is born. Compare that to being her pet. The pet gets attention, but not respect. The pet gets affection, but never full desire. The pet lives in her world. The mirror makes her face it. You're not here to dance for scraps. You're here to lead with truth. So the next time you feel tempted to smooth things over, to nod along, to say it's fine when it's not, stop. Look in the mirror first. Ask yourself, am I being honest? Am I holding my ground? Or am I bending to avoid tension? If it's the latter, you already know. It's time to stop being her pet. You don't need her constant approval. You need your own respect. Because when you reflect her true self back to her, without fear, without need, you become unforgettable. She may push, she may test, but deep down, she knows. She's finally met a man who doesn't flinch. Comment this below if you're done performing. I reflect strength. And if you're building yourself into a man who doesn't chase energy, but commands it through presence, then hit that subscribe button right now. Stay locked in. The game is shifting, and you're not here to play fetch. You're here to lead. Number 6, build your fortress. Every strong man, every grounded, immovable, magnetic man has one thing most people can't see. He has a fortress, not a physical place with stone walls and towers, but an internal kingdom. A space inside himself that no woman, no argument, no ghosted text, no praise or insult can penetrate. And if you want to walk this path, if you want to stop chasing women and start commanding their respect, you've got to build yours. Now let's be clear. This isn't about isolation. This isn't go hide in a cave and cut off your emotions. No. This is about ownership of your time, your focus, your peace, your mission. Most men don't have a fortress. They have a tent. Every emotion blows them over. Every woman who pulls away sends them into a spiral. Every test, every delay in text, every cold response shakes their entire frame. That's not masculinity. That's emotional homelessness. So what does a fortress look like? It's a life so intentionally built that no one becomes the center of it but you. It's waking up with a routine that grounds you before the world touches you. It's having goals you chase relentlessly, without needing anyone to cheer you on. It's cultivating friendships with brothers who sharpen you, not weaken you. It's being so dialed in on your self-respect that no woman can manipulate you with emotional breadcrumbs. In Stoicism, Marcus Aurelius referred to this as the inner citadel, a place within you that remains untouched by chaos. And let me tell you, when a man operates from that place, women feel it. They can't quite explain it, but it's magnetic, because it's rare. Most men pour everything out. They give too much, too soon. They expose their whole hearts before a woman has even earned their honesty. They tear down their emotional walls, hoping it makes them more real, when in truth, it just makes them more available to be used. A fortress is the opposite. It's not that you're cold, it's that you're selective. You don't open your gates because someone smiled at you. They've got to prove they can enter and not burn it down. And here's the beauty. When you build your fortress, your need for validation vanishes. You don't get attached to her reactions. You don't panic when she pulls back. You don't crumble under silence. Because you're standing on solid ground. She could walk away tomorrow, and yeah, it would sting, but it wouldn't destroy you. Why? Because you have somewhere else to be. You have something else to do. You have purpose. Your fortress is built on that. And when she feels that power, that grounded energy, you stop being a man who needs her. You become the man she fears losing. Think about this. When was the last time you poured all your energy into yourself? Into your body, your money, your discipline, your mindset. That's your foundation. That's your wall. Every rep in the gym, a brick. Every hour mastering your craft? A brick. Every time you say no to drama and yes to your peace. Another brick. Soon enough, you don't flinch anymore. You don't overreact. You don't beg. You stand. That kind of presence, it doesn't chase. It attracts. So, if you're tired of being emotionally exposed to every storm she brings, you know what time it is. Build your fortress, not for her, not to impress anyone, but to protect what actually matters, your soul. Comment this below if you're building something no one can break. I live fortified. And if you're ready to stop being emotionally homeless, hit that subscribe button now. No more chasing what was never yours. You're building a kingdom, inside and out. Stick with me. Your foundation just got stronger. Number 7, never break no contact. Let's be honest. No contact is one of the hardest moves a man ever makes. It's not loud, it's not dramatic. It doesn't come with a mic drop or a big final speech. It's just silence. Steady, unapologetic, unmoving, and that's what makes it so powerful. But here's the thing most men don't get about no contact. It only works if you never break it. Because the second you reach out, even just once, the energy collapses. You give away your frame, your control, your silence, all for a moment of weakness dressed up as closure. Let me ask you this. Has chasing ever won her back in a way that lasted? Has double texting ever made her respect you more? Has showing up when she disappears ever made her value your presence? Didn't think so. See, the moment you break no contact, you confirm her belief that she still has access to you, that she can leave the door half open and you'll come crawling through it. That's not masculine. That's emotional desperation. The true power of no contact isn't about punishing her. It's about protecting yourself. It's about choosing self-respect over short-term validation. It's about walking away from a dynamic that no longer aligns with your standards and meaning it. When a woman walks away, pulls back, ghosts, or disrespects your presence, she's not just making a move, she's setting a boundary. And when you respect that boundary with silence, you show her something rare. A man with restraint. A man who doesn't beg, who doesn't plead, who doesn't sell his soul just to get one more response. Now I know what you're thinking. But what if she misses me? What if she's just confused? What if she's waiting for me to show I care? Let me say this bluntly. If she cared, you'd already know. If she wanted to reach out, she would've. And if she's confused, that's her storm to navigate, not yours. Stoic men don't manage other people's emotions. They manage their own. Epictetus said, "It's not what happens to you, but how you react to it that matters." And no contact? That's the ultimate non-reaction. It says, "I respect myself too much to beg for breadcrumbs." It says, "I'd rather lose her than lose my peace." It says, "If silence is the last thing she gave me, it's the last thing she'll get from me too." Now here's what happens when you stick to it. You start healing. You stop checking your phone every 5 minutes. You return to your mission. You realize that her attention was never the goal. Your alignment was. And guess what? That silence? It grows. It starts echoing louder than any message you could have sent. She starts wondering why you haven't cracked, why you're not chasing, why her absence hasn't shaken you. And in that space, the dynamic shifts. But even if she never comes back, even if you never hear from her again, you still win. Because you didn't break. You didn't fold. You honored your boundary and proved something to yourself. You're done fighting for someone who's not fighting for you. So never break no contact. Not out of pride, but out of power. Because once you go silent, the only thing louder than your words is your absence. Comment this below if you're choosing your peace over their pull. I stay silent. And if you're done with chasing, done with breaking your own boundaries just to feel seen, subscribe right now. Because in this space, we don't teach you how to win her back. We teach you how to never lose yourself again. Stay locked in. You're on the edge of becoming untouchable. Number 8, let her sit with her decision. There's a moment in every man's life when he faces the urge to fix something that isn't his to fix. She pulled away. She said she needed space. Maybe she even walked out of your life entirely. And your instinct? To chase, to explain, to clear the air, to fight for her. Again. But here's the truth no one tells you. If she made the decision to step away, let her sit with it. Not for revenge, not to teach her a lesson, but to finally respect yourself. Most men collapse the second she closes the door. They stand outside, knocking gently, offering more love, more time, more understanding. But a masculine man? He doesn't wait outside the door she locked. He turns around, and he builds a new one. Here's what you need to understand. When a woman makes a decision, whether in anger, confusion, or ego, it isn't your job to cushion the consequences for her. It's your job to uphold your dignity. You don't need to soften the silence. You don't need to rescue her from the discomfort of what she chose. You let her feel it. That silence, that absence, that shift in energy. That's where the real mirror is. And that mirror says, you're allowed to choose, but so am I. Women are emotional beings. They often act in moments, then reflect later. And when you refuse to interrupt that process with pleading or persuasion, something powerful happens. She starts sitting in the echo of her choice. She remembers the steadiness you brought, the way you held your frame, the peace that followed your presence. But now, it's not there. And it doesn't come back with a single call, or a late-night text, or an emotional check-in. Why? Because you're no longer available on demand. You've elevated beyond her access. Stoic philosopher Seneca wrote, "No man is more unhappy than he who never faces adversity, for he is not permitted to prove himself." Letting her sit with her decision is your proof. It proves you are not desperate for closure. You are not available for half love. You are not scared to be missed. And let me say this, you're not being passive. You're being powerful. Because strength is not in force, it's in restraint. Letting her sit in the emotional space she created is the deepest form of respect you can give her, and yourself. It says, you made the call. Now I'll honor it. Fully. If she comes back, she'll come back to a man who stood firm. If she doesn't, you're already gone emotionally, because you chose yourself. And even if you loved her, even if you still do, love without self-respect is just self-abandonment in disguise. So here's what I want you to remember. You're not cold, you're clear. You're not heartless, you're whole. You're not punishing, you're protecting. Protecting your energy, your progress, your masculinity. Let her sit with her decision. Don't try to lighten it. Don't try to guide her back. Don't try to remind her of what she's losing. Your absence will do that on its own. And if she truly valued you, truly understood the depth of what you offered, she'll reach out. And when she does, you'll respond from power, not pain. But until then, stay grounded, stay focused, stay gone. Comment this below if you're done chasing clarity that was always yours. I choose peace. And if you're walking this path, one of strength, restraint, and deep masculine presence, hit that subscribe button right now. Because we're not here to win anyone back. We're here to remember what it feels like to never abandon ourselves again. You're doing it right. Don't flinch. Stay locked in. Number 9, they always come back, but you're already gone. You know what's funny? They always come back. Not always in the way you imagined. Not always with a grand apology or a tearful message. But they do come back. Sometimes it's a, "Hey, just thinking about you." Sometimes it's a story they tag you in. Sometimes it's complete silence, followed by them watching every story you post. It's almost predictable. Why? Because absence does something that presence never could. When you're always there, texting, calling, checking in, you're easy to ignore. When you go silent, go still, go inward, that's when your energy starts to haunt her. You see, when you stop chasing, something strange happens. You become noticeable again. Not because you're louder, but because you're gone. And your absence has a weight she didn't expect. At first, she might enjoy the space. She might feel powerful, free, untethered. But as time passes, the silence stops feeling empowering and starts feeling empty. That's when the questions begin. Did he move on? Why hasn't he reached out? Is he seeing someone else? Did I misread his value? And that's when the boomerang returns. Now listen, this isn't about games. It's not about baiting her or manipulating her emotions. This is about truth. She chose to walk. You chose to let her. And now, you've built a life that no longer revolves around her return. That's the part most men forget. They wait for the comeback. They cling to hope. They stare at the phone like it holds their worth. But a Stoic man doesn't wait. He reinvents. He rebuilds. He reclaims his attention, his power, his peace. So when she does circle back, and she will, she's no longer reuniting with the version of you that needed her. She's facing the version who grew without her. And that version, he's not bitter. He's not cold. He's just already gone. Gone emotionally, gone mentally. Gone from the illusion that she was the prize. That shift hits different. Because nothing wakes a woman up faster than realizing the man she thought would wait didn't. You see, it's easy for her to come back to a man who's stuck. It's safe to return to the guy who's been holding the door open. But the man who closed it without slamming it? The one who simply disappeared into purpose? That man is unforgettable. He didn't beg. He didn't explode. He didn't collapse. He just moved forward, quietly, consistently, fully. That's Stoicism. That's masculinity. That's real power. Because when a man reclaims himself, everything else begins to orbit him. And when she finally feels that gravitational shift, she'll return, but not to reclaim you. She'll return to see if she can still reach you. The difference is, you're no longer reachable. You're not angry. You're not blocking her. You're just elevated. And that's the real win. Not the return, not the apology, but the freedom. The freedom of knowing that you could have waited, but you didn't. Because you realized something most men never do. Her decision was never your downfall. It was your turning point. Comment this below if you've outgrown who you once waited for. I'm already gone. And if you're tired of circling in the same cycles, chasing ghosts, waiting for maybe someday, then you already know what to do. Hit that subscribe button. This channel isn't about getting her back. It's about getting you back. Stronger, sharper, unshakable. You've moved on. Stay gone. Let your evolution be the loudest silence she ever hears. Number 10. Disappear like a god. There's silence. And then there's the kind of disappearance that echoes. That doesn't beg, doesn't warn, doesn't explain. It just leaves. Clean, sharp, permanent. Not out of pain, not out of spite, but out of power. That's what it means to disappear like a god. You see, most men think disappearing means going cold. They think it's about unfollowing her, deleting her number, blocking her on every platform. But that's not divine. That's reactive. Disappearing like a god is different. It's not loud. It's not dramatic. It doesn't even feel like punishment. It feels like evolution. When a god disappears, he doesn't retreat. He ascends. He becomes bigger than the game. He rises above the dynamic. He leaves, not because he's afraid to stay, but because he's outgrown the space entirely. And what's left behind? An undeniable void. Because no one notices when a boy walks away. But when a man with gravity, stillness, and presence leaves the room, the energy shifts. Here's the core of it. Disappearing like a god is the final act of detachment. You're not waiting for her to text. You're not refreshing her feed. You're not playing the "I'll vanish so she misses me" game. You disappear because her access to you was a privilege, and she misused it. You disappear because presence is power, and yours is no longer for rent. You disappear because men who walk in silence are remembered louder than men who beg in noise. Stoicism teaches us that control begins with letting go. That mastery isn't in dominating others, but in mastering ourselves. And when you disappear from a woman's life with no bitterness, no blame, no emotional explosion, that's when she finally feels the difference between attention and presence, between convenience and conviction. She may expect you to ghost and come back, to flinch and fold, to send that one last message that keeps the door open just a crack, but gods don't look back. You've already mourned the version of her you once wanted. You've buried the fantasy. You've stripped off the emotional weight she never asked you to carry. And now? Now you vanish, not to prove anything, but because you've already become someone she can no longer reach. It's not personal, it's universal. And that's what rattles her. You were the one she thought she could circle back to. The one she thought would always answer. The one she thought would sit still until she decided. But now you've become something else entirely. Unchained, untouchable, unforgettable. And that disappearance, it isn't void. It's sacred space. You're not gone. You've just elevated beyond the need for approval, reaction, or resolution. And when you move like that, you don't chase. You don't even wait. You expand. You fill your world with purpose so deeply that her return wouldn't change your direction. It would only distract it. So here's the truth. To disappear like a god is to disappear into purpose, to disappear into mastery, to disappear into peace so unshakable, nothing outside of you dictates your next move. And when you do that, you don't become less attractive. You become legendary. Comment this if you've moved beyond needing to be seen. I disappear in power. And if you're done seeking closure, done waiting for validation, done orbiting people who don't deserve your gravity, this is your moment. You're not fading. You're ascending. And trust me, when you disappear like a god, they'll never forget the silence that followed. If you've watched this far, you already know. You're not like most men. Most men chase what walks away. You build what can't be taken. You don't argue for attention. You become the kind of man whose absence demands it. That's Stoicism, not coldness, not bitterness, but calm, quiet, unshakable power. Because the masculine man doesn't need to chase. He doesn't need to prove. He disappears and becomes undeniable. So, if you're ready to embody that fully, don't just be another guy scrolling for answers. Be the man who rewrites the rules. Subscribe now, not for tricks, not for games, but for the kind of truth that turns silence into strength and solitude into supremacy. And if you felt this message, if you know deep down that you're stepping into a new version of yourself, then drop this in the comments right now. I disappear in power. I'll see you in the next one. Until then, remain still, move with intention, and never, ever chase.